In this video, we'll be solving this question on binomial expansion. Okay, the question here says write down the first four terms of the expansion of 2 minus 3x all to the power 1 over 2. Okay, so how do you do the binomial expansion of terms that raise to rational, that's fraction, as power, something like this? When the power is a fraction, how do you solve questions of this manner? Okay, solution. So first things first, let's write out our solution. So we have solution here. Now our first concept to this would be to write out the equation. The question here is 2 minus 3x, this all to power 1 over 2. Now let's recall the formula for the binomial expansion of terms that are raised to rational powers. Now if you have, let's say, a plus b all to power n, where n is a negative, all right, a negative number or a fraction, your expansion would simply be equal to a to power n, this plus n a to power n minus 1, this, then into b. We've gotten our first term, this. We've gotten our second term, this. Let's get the other two terms. In this question, we're asked to find the first four terms. We've gotten our first two terms plus your next term becomes n into n minus 1, then a to power n minus 2, then this into b squared, that's b all squared, all over this all over 2 factorial, that's 2 factorial, then plus your final thing there, or your final formula would be, so this is what you have here is your third term. Let's get the fourth term. The fourth term is given by n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 into a to the power n minus 3, this into b cube, this into b all cube, all over, so this all over 3 factorial, this all over 3 factorial, then it can just continue. But basically, this is the formula when it comes to the binomial expansion of terms that are rational or that has rational powers or fraction as powers. So we have this. All right, so we have this here. In our previous class, we've already explained this concept. All right, so if you missed our previous class when we explained this concept about binomial expansion of rational powers or negative powers, I'll leave a link to that video in the video description. So check video description, you see a link to our first class on binomial expansion that explains this in full. Now let's proceed with this question here. For this question, we can say that a is equal to the first term here, which is 2. So we can say that a is equal to 2. B, that's this, is equal to my next term here, which is actually minus 3x, not just 3x. That's minus 3x. And then n is equal to the power. The power here is 1 over 2. So n is 1 all over 2. So I have this as a, b, and n. Let's impute this into the formula and see what we get. So that means that, this means that 2 minus 3x to power 1 over 2 would be equal to, the first thing you have, there's a to power n. That becomes a, which is 2. You can sit here 2. So it becomes 2 to power n. N is 1 over 2 plus, next up you have n here. N is 1 over 2. So I have 1 all over 2. That's n into a. You can see this here, a to power n minus 1. A is 2 to power n minus 1. N is 1 over 2. So 1 over 2 minus 1. Then into b. What's the value of b? You can see that b is minus 3x, as you can see here. That becomes minus 3x. So with this, I've gotten my first and my second term. Let's proceed. Plus, so it becomes plus. Next up, you have n into n minus 1. N is 1 over 2. So n into n minus 1 becomes n. That's 1 over 2 into n minus 1. That's 1 over 2 minus 1. Okay. Into a to the power n minus 2. What's a? A is 2. So it becomes 2. That's a. 2 into n minus 1. N is 1 over 2 minus 2. That's n minus 2 into b squared. What's b? B is minus 3x. We said b squared. So it becomes, this is minus 3x, that's b, all squared, as we can see here, that's this one here. Now, everything is divided by what there? 2 factorial. So this all divided by, this divided by 2 factorial, this all over 2 factorial. The next thing we have there is plus, that's this plus here. So it becomes plus, I have n into n minus 1, that's this, n is 1 over 2, so it becomes 1 over 2, that's n into n minus 1, 1 over 2 minus 1, into n minus 2, 1 over 2 minus 2, into a, right, a, going back to check this, the value of a is 2, so you can see here 2, so it becomes a to n minus 3. That becomes a is 2 to power n is 1 over 2 minus 3, this, into b to power 3. What's the value of b again? B is minus 3x, so it becomes minus 3x. So b to power 3 becomes this to power 3, this, all over, you can see this 3 factorial, so all divided by this, all divided by 3 factorial, this all over 3 factorial. So we have this. All right, so far so good. This is what we have. Let's try to simplify this further. Let's simplify this. Now, in simplifying this, this will be equal to, I would advise you get your calculator to make the work easier for ourselves. Now, when you have a to power 1 over 2, this can still be written as square root of a. Okay? So what does that mean? It means that 2 to power 1 over 2 can still be written as root 2. So that's my first term. Let's take plus, so plus into, let's work on this term here. This becomes 1 over 2, so you can see this as 1 all over 2. This into 2, that's 2, into half minus 1. So you can get your calculator and punch that 1 over 2 minus 1. It will give you minus 1 over 2 as your answer. Right? I won't be solving that so that the video does not become too lengthy, but your answer there will be minus 1 over 2. All right. Next up, we now have minus 3x. So we have this. Next up, plus. So I have plus there. 1 over 2 into half minus 1. That's 1 over 2 minus 1 gives you minus 1 over 2. Minus 1 all over 2. Okay. Into the next we have this one here, 2. That becomes, let me put this in brackets. So 2 into half minus 2. All right, so 1 over 2 minus 2. If you punch 1 over 2 minus 2, what you get there is minus 3 over 2. That's minus 3 all over 2. You have that. Into the next thing you have there is minus 3x all squared. That's minus 3x multiplied by minus 3x. Minus 3 times minus 3 is plus 9. X times x is x squared. So the answer is 9x squared. That's what you have. So I'll come back and write this as 9x squared. So this into 9x squared. This all over. So this all over 2 factorial is simply 2 times 1. That's value of 2 factorial. And 2 times 1 gives you what there? 2. So I have this as 2. So my denominator here is 2 plus my final term. Let me simplify this. Now in simplifying this, the first thing I have here is 1 over 2. So I have 1 all over 2. This into 1 over 2 minus 1. That's half minus 1 gives you minus 1 over 2. All right, next up, 1 over 2 minus 2. If you punch 1 over 2 minus 2, you get minus 3 over 2. Or if you can solve that, you have that. Next up, it becomes 2 to the power minus 1 over 2. This one here, 1 over 2 minus 3. That becomes minus 5 over 2. So minus 5 all over 2. So I said you could use your calculator to punch this, or you could solve it. You have this answer. Into finally, I have this minus 3x all to the power 3. That becomes minus 3x multiplied by minus 3x multiplied by minus 3x. That's 3 times. Minus times minus is plus. Plus times minus is minus. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So I have 27. x times x is x squared times x is x cubed. So I have minus 27x cubed as your answer. So let's put in that value. I'll put the value there as minus 27x cubed, this all over. Next thing you have there is 3 factorial. 3 factorial is equal to 3 times 2 times 1, and that gives you 6. So your value is 6. So 3 factorial, your value is 6. So that becomes all over 6. All right, so here's our next simplification. Let's simplify even further. All right, in simplifying even further, what do I have here? What I have here is equal to, this is equal to root 2 plus. Now, when it comes to simplifying this, you just have to be careful with this. And what we have here becomes 1 over 2. So I have this as 1 all over 2 multiplied by, when you have 2 to power minus 1 over 2. How do you simplify this? First things first, this would be equal to take off the minus, I'll put an inverse. So it becomes 1 all over, it becomes 2 to power 1 over 2. So the minus is gone because I now have an inverse. All right, so what next there? This will be equal to 1 all over. Now, we said earlier that when anything is raised to power 1 over 2, it means I'm taking the square root of what I have here, 2. So my value becomes 1 all over root 2. Okay, so let's see that. So that means if I simplify this one here, if I simplify this one here, I'll have my answer as 1 all over root 2. That's what I'll get. Let me write this properly. So this gives you 1 all over root 2. Okay, then we have this one here as minus 3x. So minus 3x, we have this. All right, so that term is checked. Let's proceed. So it becomes plus. Next up, I have 1 over 2, which is 1 over 2. Or let me just multiply them. So this gives you, okay, let me just take them one by one. 1 over 2, which is this term here, into minus 1 over 2. So minus 1 all over 2 into this term here. All right, 2 raised to power minus 3 over 2. All right. So if I get my calculator and punch this, 2 raised to power minus 3 all over 2. If you punch that, you have your answer as root 2 all over 4. So I'm using a calculator so that we can save time with this question, okay? So I'm having my answer as root 2 over 4. Okay, let me add that here. That becomes root 2 over 4 after simplifying, okay? All right, so this is your answer after simplifying. What next there? So our next task here becomes the next thing here, which is 9x squared. So this into 9x squared, this 9x squared all over 2. So this all over 2. So plus my next task here is to simplify all of these terms. That becomes the first thing I have there, 1 over 2. This into, next thing I have this minus 1 over 2. Okay, into minus 3 over 2. I have this. Next thing I have there is 2 raised to power minus 5 over 2. And if you punch that, 2 raised to power minus 5 over 2, what you have there as your answer is root 2 over 8 after simplifying. All right, you have root 2 over 8. Okay, the next thing you have there is this 10 here, which is minus 27x cubed. You have this all over 6, this all over 6. So all over 6. So I have this. All right, so I have this 10 here. Let's see, break this down again. This is now equal to, so I have this as being, we'll check this. Okay, I have this as being equal to, the first thing I have there is root 2, which is this here, into, in expanding this, what I have there is multiply numerator, that becomes 1 times 1, which is 1 times minus 3x, that gives you minus 3x. So I have this plus, numerator is minus 3x all over 2 times root 2 is 2 root 2. That's multiplying denominator. 2 times root 2 is 2 root 2. I have this. Next we have this plus. So I have plus into, I have 1 times, let's multiply numerator. 1 times minus 1 is minus 1. Minus 1 times 2 times root 2 is minus root 2. Minus root 2 times 9 is minus 9 root 2. All right, you have that as minus 9 root 2. Let me write that down. So that becomes, my numerator is minus 9 root 2. Now, not forgetting that you have the x squared, right? This x squared here. So bring down the x squared. So this into x squared all over. Let's work with denominator. Denominator becomes 2 times 2 here, which is 4. 4 times 4 here, which is what there? 16. So I have my denominator as 16. This all over, you still have this one here, all over 2. So that's all over 2. We have this. The next term there is plus. So I have plus. Let's multiply numerator again. So I have this as 1 times minus 1, that's minus 1. Minus 1 times minus 3, that's plus 3. Plus 3 times root 2, that's plus 3 root 2, or 3 root 2. 3 root 2 times minus 27, that's minus 81 root 2. All right, you have that as minus 81 root 2. So you have minus 81 root 2 minus 81 root 2. You have this. This into, the term I have here is x cubed. So that's into x cubed. This into x cubed all over. Let's get denominator. So all over. Denominator here is, it's 2 times 2, 4. 4 times 2, 8. 8 times 8 here, that's 64. So if I multiply all denominators, I'll have that as 64. So this all over 64, that's 64 all over. So all over, what I have here is 6. So all over 6. So you have this. All right, so basically this is what I have so far. Let's proceed with this. All right, so proceeding with this here, this will now be equal to, that's equal to, what I have here is root 2. Root 2 plus times minus gives you minus. That becomes minus 3x all over. So all over 2 root 2. Next up I have this one too. Plus times minus gives you minus. That gives you minus. I'm having here as from this, let's see, that becomes 9 root 2x squared. So minus, that's 9 root 2 x squared. Next up for denominator, now to simplify denominator, simply multiply this by this. Okay, it works like that. It's correct. That becomes 16 times 2. 16 times 2 is 32. So all over 32. We have this as our next term. Next up, we now have this again, which is plus times minus, and that's minus. So I have this as minus. Next thing we have there is, have here, that's this, is minus 81 root 2 x cubed. So minus 81 root 2 x cubed. This all over. We've said for denominator, you can simply multiply this by this. That becomes 6 times 64. All right. And if you do 64 times 6, what you have there is actually 384. That's 384. So you have this. So basically, this is what would get. Let's see if we can break any of this term to their lowest term. Not really. Let's see. All right. So we can still break this one here down to its lowest term. This one here, this 81. Let's see. 3 can divide 81. So 3 cancels 81 here. You have 27. 3 cancels 384. 384 divided by 3, you have 128. So you have 128 here. So we can confirm that 81 all over 384 is the same thing as 27 over 128. So with this, let's see any other simplification. Not really. So in essence, this will be equal to root 2. That's my first term, root 2, minus, we have 3x all over 2 root 2. That's my second term. Okay, next up we have minus, we have this as 9 root 2 x squared. That becomes 9 root 2 all over 32. You can bring out the x squared. This is like the most professional way of writing this. All right, so this first one you have here can still be better written as 3 all over 2 root 2, then keep the x outside. That's like the best way of writing this. But that's by the way. So in essence, let me just take this off and write it like the best way. If I take this off here, so it becomes minus 3 root 2 x, okay? Then minus, next thing we have there is 9 root 2, so 9 root 2 all over 32. So this all over 32 into x squared, so this into x squared minus, what I have here becomes 27 root 2. So I'm having 27 root 2 all over 128 into, I now have x cubed here. So into x cubed. So all right, so we still have one final step, and that's for this. This is equal to, we have root 2. Now, in our previous class on sorts, we said it is not proper to leave the denominator of a fraction as a surd. So in the case where you have 3 all over 2 root 2, what you do here is to rationalize the surd. And to rationalize the surd, what you do is to multiply the numerator by the surd as well as the denominator by the surd. So you have this. And if you work on this, this would be equal to 3 times root 2 is 3 root 2 all over. Then you have 2 into, if you multiply root 2 times root 2, you can punch that with your calculator. You have your answer as 2. So it becomes this 2 here, multiplying that result. That's 2 times 2, and that gives you 4. All right, so that means at this point here, I will have 3 root 2 all over 4. All right, so you should note this. That's how you rationalize surd. So I'll have this as 3 root 2 over 4. That becomes minus 3 root 2 all over 4. That's a proper way of writing this, into x minus, what I have next is 9 root 2 all over 32 into x squared minus, you now have this as 27 root 2 all over 128 into x cubed. So basically, this becomes the answer to this question. I'll zoom out a bit so you can see this here. Now, this is your first term. This is the required second term. This is the third term. And then this is the fourth term as requested in the question. So that's how you solve this question. Okay. All right, guys. So don't forget you can visit my website to get any of the available courses and books. Simply visit www.jonahemmanuel.com/courses and you see the available courses, or you can visit www.jonahemmanuel.com/books to get any of the available books. Do well to register an account to the website before proceeding to get any of the available courses or books. You can also join my channel membership to get exclusive access to premium content. All right. So you can join my channel membership and you get access to exclusive content for both first year students, JAM students, second year students in university. All right, guys. If you enjoyed this video as usual, do well to like the video. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment. All right. If you enjoyed the video, tell us in the comment section that you enjoyed the video. If you have any question, leave it in the comment section and I'll attend to your question. Don't forget to subscribe. If it's your first time here or if you're yet to subscribe, do well to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon. Select all to get notified whenever we upload new content. Then finally, share this video to your friends so that they can also learn. Thank you and see you in our next class.